What's up, guys? So on today's video, we are going to give you an inside look into the Monterey Car Week. This is our own market report, and I'm with my brother, Herschel.
Welcome back. We just got back from a really interesting week, right? I think unexpected would be the other word we use to describe it, right?
Listen, I think if you guys haven't already seen, I did a quick little reel about this, and I think everyone's talking about it, from RM Sotheby's and you name it. But there were some tremendous results to come out of Monterey Car Week. I would say easy, there's probably 15 new world records for series of supercars, series of cars in general. And I think maybe we start with the biggest one that I actually think is an indicator of the market, in my opinion. Maybe you argue me on that. But it's the Daytona SP3, the Ferrari car, which was like a two-tone color car that RM Sotheby sold on Saturday night. 26 million or
26 million. I think when I look at the charity auctions, I kind of put them aside a little bit. The sales price on the SP3 was, I'd almost say, was egregious, right? It's an insane number. We were in the room and we were kind of taking personal bets with some of the friends in the room, and 12, 15, yeah, maybe it goes to 16. Someone needs a write-off. This blew way past write-off territory. This went into ego territory.
Well, I think at one point when someone bid 24 million it was like a 20 million or 21 million, and someone bid 24. In my eyes, I said, okay, someone spoke to their accountant, and that was the exact number they needed for whatever write-off. But listen, I think the most important thing is obviously to see people from the community get together. It's going to benefit an amazing cause. So we are an advocate of charity, obviously, but I don't think it is a true market.
No, and a whole separate conversation would be SP3 values and how they've kind of outperformed the rest of the Halo cars.
And what you would know better than me, what is the value, do you think, for an SP3 Daytona today?
A good second market car right now, they're trading between $6.5 to $7 million. So they've already outperformed the other kind of Halo cars, the LaFerraris, not the F50s now. We'll talk about that in a minute. But obviously, I think we've agreed and we talked about that that's a really iconic car. It's a special car for Ferrari. I think it's recognized as such. So, which is why I say, okay, for a charity, 15 or 16 million, 26 million shocked everybody. I think the other interesting thing about the buyer is that he doesn't have another Ferrari. And it's an indicator that there seems to be a lot of newer blood, so to speak, coming into the market, which is really encouraging. Guys that want to collect and get into the game, either for enthusiasm or investment. But it was interesting initially. I think, John, you and I had spoke about who we thought was bidding on it, and we were wrong. It wasn't any of the kind of typical players that we would have guessed was bidding on it. So it was a good surprise to see.
Well, I think what you just said, it sort of sums up, in my eyes, a big part of the weekend. I've said many times on our channel or all of these different things that I think there's a massive future for a generation of supercars because there's so much. Listen, you can't ignore the massive generational shift in wealth that's happening over the next 10 to 20 years. Trillions of dollars. I think that the estimate is like $120 trillion going into a younger generation from the baby boomers. And I think in general, this generation of people believes in, one, experiences, having fun, things like Pebble Beach, rallies, all these different things that you can do with many of these cars. Two, they look at assets differently. And they're looking at these supercars as assets, which is a new thing. And then three, it's cars that were important to them, whether it was a video game, a poster, a movie, whatever it may be. What I noticed about this weekend is that became to me almost the background, which I'm a firm believer of. That's still the future for many, many years, 30, 40, 50 years, whatever it may be. But this weekend felt like there were so many new buyers to the industry. There were so many new people that I had never heard of, that it's almost like people have accepted these are real alternative assets now. 90s supercars in general, or early 2000s, special blue chip cars, are assets. It's a fact, and I think it's accepted, and you're seeing a large transfer of wealth go into cars from different assets. So I think that was the consensus of the weekend, in my opinion.
And I think the other interesting thing is what I think we witnessed was a return to provenance. I think people are also recognizing not only the emotional and the investment aspect, but just shifting gears real quick, moving over to the F50. I don't think anyone expected that much of a jump. I think we talked about those cars kind of moving more exponentially than incrementally as the better cars come off the board, because they're so limited to 349 cars. You know, we're just getting to the point where there's not a lot to choose from. So then enter this beautiful US spec yellow F50, and I believe we saw the value jump just because we're running out of cars. But then I think we saw the extra boost because of provenance and ownership, which was Ralph Lauren.
100%.
And again, I believe the buyer was on a younger side. He was a newer collector, and again, very encouraging for the market, because I always maybe felt that the danger was that even the younger generation would not recognize provenance. They would buy emotionally. They're a little bit more emotional about that. It was a poster car. I want it. I want to drive it, which is great. It's everything we endorse about buying cars. But seeing provenance recognized at that level, I think, is going to open up a little bit more for the educated investor. I think the younger guy is more educated than I think we were originally willing to give him credit for.
100%. I think the amount of passion that's going into this industry today, where people want to learn, they're interested in provenance, they're interested in history, is unparalleled. I see it, you know, talking to clients. I feel like I'm talking to a very educated group of people that know, you know, exactly what they want. They know what is important. You know, I tried to chase that car for years from the Desco family. They had owned it for many, many years. You know, I was really confident. You know, the reason I chased it personally, because I thought it was a unicorn. You know, one of, you know, what is it, 55 US cars, one of 2 that were yellow. I mean, it checks every single box, original paint. So I was, you know, I was very confident it was going to do well. I don't think anyone thought it was going to start with a 9.
You know, it's funny, I didn't ask you. We talked originally, but the night of the auction, we kind of got separated, and I was with a group of guys, and I think we didn't get a chance to take bets. Oh, we did take bets. Yes. I won $100, by the way.
Yes.
Thank you, James and DK and those guys. But I was closest. I was the highest. They were all very conservative in the 7s. What were you thinking before the auction?
I said A250.
I said A2 as well, and then we hit you know, a number like 9.2 with fees. And again, I think it's provenance. I think there was so much energy in that room.
Yes.
I think, was that after the SP3? I forget.
It was after.
After. So just the energy kept going. But I think it's an indicator that the market is really strong. And then I think we're also a little bit like dwindling assets. There's just not as much to choose from.
Well, I think overall, here's what I'll say. I think really great pieces and really great assets. I talk about this even for a 996 turbo or an R8 manual. Like, it doesn't matter if it's $30,000 or $30 million. I think you can never go wrong buying the best of whatever you can afford, or the most interesting piece. Even if it has high miles, even if it has a little bit of a story. If it's an incredible piece, you're always going to have value. You're always going to be able to build value in this generation of 80s, 90s, early 2000s cars. And you know, you look at, you know, one of the other auction houses called me to bid on 2 Countaches that were going up for sale, and they're both cars that have been for sale for a year, 2 years. Both, you know, sort of lesser desirable colors, both red and black. I love black Countaches. I love black, but there's no question a black or red Countach is not as desirable as a non-red or black car. And both cars were fuel-injected cars. And the estimates, and I originally said this, the estimates seemed high for fuel-injected cars. And I said, really? Wow, that would be a new world record. And when you look at Lamborghini Countaches, you know, there's no question that the carbureted cars bring more. An LP400S Series 1 or Series 2 is going to probably be the peak, followed by a downdraft, you know, and then further from there. But it was funny to me. One of the auction houses called and said, hey, do you want to bid on this car? And it just felt like a lot of the inventory that didn't sell over the weekend was recycled inventory. People had seen it. People had known about it. It wasn't that interesting, or the estimate was too high. Then when you have this new, fresh inventory I'm going to bring up another car because it's new, fresh inventory. This blue Sarah 512 TR from its original owner, low mileage car, luggage in the wrapper. It checked every single box, one of two in that color. It blew my mind. I mean, that car did
Well, it blew a lot of minds because it pulled an incredible number.
$775,000. But I think that is where the when a car checks all the box, color, mileage, provenance, it is exceptional. It can do exceptionally well.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the surprise. I think across the board, and I think you saw a little bit more of a Ferrari lean this weekend.
Well, I think because there were such excellent Ferraris.
Yeah.
I mean, from a Lamborghini point of view, there really were no good Lamborghinis. There was one Miura that had gone through auctions numerous times.
Yeah.
And the Diablo GT while it's an incredible car, it was probably the worst example of a Diablo GT.
Which I thought that was a great number for that car anyway. I thought that was a really high number.
It was an insane number.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine we used to sell no mileage Diablo GTs at 1.4.
Yeah.
And if a 63,000 kilometer, which would be almost 40 something thousand miles, sells 1.435 or 1.450, I mean, you could argue that, if you used a formula, I mean, what's a Carrera GT with those miles worth, you think? 40,000 mile Carrera GT. 800 grand, 900 grand?
Yeah, exactly.
So a no mileage Carrera GT is what? 2 million?
2 million.
Today?
Yeah, they're pushing 2 million.
So you could almost say, almost double. So you'd almost argue that a no mileage Diablo GT today could be 2 million, 3 million.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I think personal favorite, so there's a bias here, but the Diablo GT is always one of my personal favorites.
Yeah.
It's numbered, there's 80 of them. I think it's the most special Diablo. I think it kind of transcends into the Murcielago a little bit. I know it's an argument, but as far as being collectible and being notable, I always feel like the Diablo GT is a special car. And as such, you could see that car begin to pull away and perform. But yeah, I agree. There wasn't as much in really noticeable or really special Lamborghinis this weekend, but I think everything performed. And overall, that gives indication that market's super healthy. And you could start to get into some of the other non-Lamborghini and Ferrari marques, and you could pick out like outliers in every one of them that performed very, very well.
Yes.
So I just think overall the market's really healthy. And I think it was a little bit of a surprise. There's a lot of uncertainty. I mean, from the business end, and a lot of guys that are in the business know with the tariffs.
Of course.
We wake up in the morning and we don't really know what we're paying for a car. So I would have thought that would have filtered through a little bit into Pebble Beach, which I think is always the marker for the rest of the year, right? And it looks really healthy.
You know what's funny? I had this weird gut feeling that because I feel like people have been on edge a little bit with everything that's going on in the news, tariffs, all these different things. I felt like there was a little bit of, because people didn't spend quarter one, quarter two. I think it was like this pent-up demand that people came out. There were some incredible cars and they spent money.
So the world's not ending. Take my money.
Correct. And I think that's example. We've had an incredible Koenigsegg CCX, which we sold today. Obviously, because there was a new world record for a CCXR at auction.
Yep.
I think it was 3.255 at Broad Arrow, which is incredible. That was our former car as well. I noticed, obviously, the MC12 sold. I think it's a new world record for an MC12 as well, a street car. So that was like 5.2. What would you, I have a couple notes, but what would you say is your biggest letdown or biggest surprise, like shock of something that really surprised you in I mean, F50, you're sort of, you're surprised, but you get it.
Oh, but you're saying letdown, something I thought should have performed?
Yeah.
I think the mirrors. I think 2 mirrors that ran this weekend.
Really?
Yeah, I think they should have done better. Based on the market.
The orange red car did end up selling after auction.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And it brought, I think it brought like they said it was going to bring around 2 million or something like that.
Right. And I think the 599XX is the other car that kind of didn't flow along with the way everything was going. That car, I think, should have pulled a much better number.
That car seemed to struggle in the auction itself. Like the auction, there was like this energy and vibrance in the room, and that car seemed to struggle.
It was a little bit overexposed. That car has been on the internet now for like the last 2 years. It's been in events, it's been on racetracks, and it got street driven on some video. And I think that type of stuff will hurt a little bit. I get it. The people that had it were trying to, drum up some viral videos and
Yeah.
get people interested. But I was surprised that, judging by the energy in the room and being at RM on a Saturday night with all those records breaking, I thought that car was a letdown, and I thought it would hold a lot better number than it did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
What about you?
I was actually surprised. You know what? In a good way, the roof CTR anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got a few cars for sale at the moment, and you know, I'm in love with that car. I think it's an incredible car. But to witness two sell in one weekend over $3 million is wild.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, again, my hat's off to Roof to produce a car that, you know, like Ferrari, can sell double its MSRP. Actually, what, triple its MSRP, is completely impressive. So I was like, wow. If you asked me, I would have bet against it. I would have said, okay, they're gonna hit, you know, high 2, low 3 range, but they definitely, both cars sold. I would say another letdown just in general. I think one of the Diablo SVs, I was actually surprised it didn't bring a little more. It still actually brought a world record. It did 550, 15 or 16,000 mile Diablo SV. Really cool color. I don't think people realized how rare the color was. So that was a surprise. I thought it could have done a little bit better. And I was actually surprised there weren't more Lamborghinis, good Lamborghinis.
Yeah, I think we were a little bit light on like good Lamborghinis.
You know, there was no
typically every year there's a
Mira
couple of
SV.
them.
There was no Murcielago manuals. I don't think there was any Murcielagos for sale at any of the auctions. So that was a little surprising.
Yeah, there'll be one for sale at Copart, I think.
I saw that.
Yeah, there's one that, unfortunately, there's one that crashed on one of the rallies.
What do you think of, I mean, we have to talk about it because we deal in so many of them. What do you think of the F40 that sold? And it's funny because we actually had the opportunity to buy this car from Singapore with 300 miles for like 3.8 or 3.9.
So I was talking to a couple of our clients about the car, and I think that's a really good example of energy in the room, pretty good marketing, maybe not someone doing as much due diligence as they should. I think the number doesn't line up to the car. If you look at the mileage, yes, it's got mileage, it's sat, but the car I thought was neglected for a very long time.
Yeah.
And an F40 is a type of car that, you know, you're always struggling against elements anyway, just based on cars developed in the 80s. A lot of the stuff they use kind of will degrade over time, even when they're cared for. When you neglect them, those cars really start to kind of melt in my eyes. Like, just stuff starts to fall apart.
Yep.
That car at that number is going to need a nut and bolt restoration. It's going to be a fully repainted car. There's a lot of components that you're going to have to chase down. I thought the number was not appropriate for the car. I thought it should have sold for a lot less. So I thought that was a huge number for that car.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, but listen, I think it's, again, a couple of guys in the room chasing the mileage, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to make any assumptions about the buyer. Maybe he's an educated guy. Maybe he's not. I don't know what his motivations were to buy the car, but if you were going in there just chasing the miles, then I think you're in for a good education in the next couple of years.
A very good education.
As you put that car together, and you know, I don't know that the car sits finished at a value above what you'd pay for it for a little while yet. Yeah. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
What do you think coming out of this weekend? What would you say you feel is most undervalued today? And what do you think? What do you think was overinflated that you don't think you were shocked? Not, you were just like, wow, that's too much money. I have a car that I'm like, wow, that
honestly,
seems like a lot of money.
I thought this might be a little too specific for the question, but it was one of the cars I walked on, I'm like, man, that was too much money. Was the repainted F40?
Yeah,
it was a pretty car. You know, it's pretty. It's got flash. It's, you know, it's a good conversational car. But, you know, I think the car closed at like 2.5 hammer. Am I right?
2.72.
2.7. Yeah, with the fees.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I just don't see it. Like I said, it's a cool car. It's a flashy car. It's a conversation car, but it just doesn't fit into that
you know
world.
What? For me, at least, I thought if it was done by Zanassi, I think it's the money all day. You know, I would say yes. It was done by a shop.
Look, to be honest, I saw the car in person at Retromobile in Paris. It was done well. It's a nice car.
Yeah.
Paint was good. Everything in
Yeah.
the car was executed well. But again, I think we were 300,000 to 400,000 off on actual value of the car.
Yeah.
But again, I think it's another energy purchase. I think
Yes.
there's so much juice in that room.
Yeah.
And
You know what's the
money,
one for me is the 599 GTO.
Oh,
I don't see that.
I actually agree 100% with you.
I don't see that at all. I
Yeah.
don't think, I mean, we had a car with similar miles
Yep.
that, we couldn't get a bite on. I think did we end up, I don't even, yeah.
No, we were getting appropriate 1.1, 1.15. And that's, those cars, they kind of jumped in and you could start to see them push into that 1.2 to 1.3.
Yes.
But to go from that 1.3 to 2 million, you're right. I think someone jumped in a time machine and went 5 years ahead and paid the money for it because I don't.
Like I could see, I will tell you, the 512M, a client was going to bid and then he texts me, he goes, "Oh, that's crazy. It was $912,000 for a 512M." But dissect that, one of one color, the only 512M US car with factory carbon buckets, yellow on blue, great color for the car. The last US car, number 75 of 75,
Yep.
decent miles. Okay, it's not. I think that's a $700,000-800,000 car. Somebody broke the bank. They paid $912, I think. But I could see that. I could see the 512 TR. I could see the F50. It's within reason. F40 LM. We've sold two. You've sold two. I could see that.
That was pretty predictable. I think we were heading towards that number anyway.
Yeah.
I thought 10, right?
Yeah.
Which is what it hammered at.
Yeah.
And I think they are $10 to $12 million cars. They're special. They're,
Yes.
one of 19. They represent historically something very important for both Michelotto and Ferrari at that time on a very iconic car. So I don't think that was a surprising number. Some people were. They're like, "Oh my God, 11 million." I think we were heading in that direction. It was pretty predictable. I think on the 512M, anytime you have a one of and it's under 100 cars and special color, I think the number's the number. I think that's how you set
Yes.
markets.
Agreed.
And I think the argument goes backwards against when these crazy numbers come out against cars where there's over 1,000 of them, or
Yes.
maybe not. But then I think you're dealing with emotion. But I think it's not. I don't think it's that outrageous that a 512M is doing, 900. I think we'll see 1 million soon.
Yeah.
It's 75 cars.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to also start to see that filter backwards towards some of the more modern stuff like 16Ms.
Yeah.
And
We're seeing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're seeing it in these
Yeah.
numbered kind of open top V8 cars. Things that aren't typically looked at as like their halo or their big chase cars, but I think 16Ms and
Yeah.
Speciale Apertas, they're on the move now. And the reason why is because they're numbered, they're special.
Yes.
There's not a lot to choose from. So I think the argument on bigger numbers on those type of cars is appropriate. But to your point, I thought the GTO was just blew past all expectations.
That, and you know what? No
Yeah.
offense. I respect the Hamilton collection. I think they do some great content and great people. But over $3 million for an Apollo that's not running. I would have thought that was $1 million car, especially if it was not running. We know the former owner. Obviously, those cars were a part of a federal seizure.
So I don't know what I was thinking because I was at the Quail and they run their sale at the same time. And I'm
Yes.
like, I'm going to go up there. Maybe we could steal something. I walk in the room and like every dealer that has a dealer license was in the room. They're like, we're going to get a deal on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched every one of those seizure cars like pull more money than we could ever hope to get trying to like hand sell the car.
Wow.
And again, I think that's a matter of you had egos, you had a couple of clients. Everyone in there was like, oh, no reserve. And they hear no reserve and seizure, I'm going to steal a car. But the funny thing was, you got a lot of educated guys in there that were chasing these cars up. And the Apollo, gets pushed up on the thing. I don't know if people didn't realize it had no interior in it.
No interior.
Yeah.
It wasn't running. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And it pulls some crazy numbers.
Yeah.
So I think, again, it probably takes two other guys in these chairs with understand psychology of why these guys do it. But whatever happened in that room at that point on those cars, I walked in there. I thought I'd be there for an hour. I was out of there in 20 minutes. I'm like, all right, this is just a waste. I don't know.
Yeah.
Throw my paddle out.
Yeah, there were some big numbers.
Yeah,
It
some
was
crazy
impressive.
numbers. Yeah.
Very, very impressive.
Yeah.
I think a massive congratulations to the RM Sotheby's team. They did an incredible job, curating some really great special pieces and great cars for the auction.
It's not easy. I mean, and I think we talked about this. There's a lot of auctions now throughout the year, and you have a few really good companies chasing consignments, and sometimes you'll go to sales and you could kind of see they'll drop a couple of premier cars in, and there's there's that pre-war car that they had to fill some spot with, and sometimes stuff's a little marginal, but I thought that RM Sotheby specifically had an incredible lineup this week. I think Gooding did as well, and you could see by their numbers, and that Meekum puts together a pretty good show. And I think as a result of that, you had a lot come together, and I think that's the other reason why we saw some great numbers. People will come out for quality, they'll come out for a deal.
Yes.
And I think all that stuff was present this year.
You know what? I think the big shift though is, and I said it last year or the year, I think it was the year before. I said I wrote a blog or something that said the king is dead, the new king is here, whatever, and it was talking about how like the movement into supercars and 80s, 90s cars. Historically, the star cars of the weekend of an auction would have been something from the 50s, something from the 60s, maybe something from the 30s, and that was not the case this year. All the auction houses really, their star cars were cars from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about this in the past, and not to take away or diminish how important a Cal Spider is or a car like that. I just believe that the emotion and the desire shifts to something that resonates with people. So we're seeing this continued kind of as we say the market's getting healthier, and I think we could confidently say it is, we're still seeing this kind of little bit of decline, right? As we get into some really great cars that some sold for okay numbers, some didn't sell and didn't perform, but you're just not seeing the passion, the desire, the pursuit of those cars. And I think nobody watching this or us would want to see that segment go away. It's an important part of our world, right? They're very special cars. They frame what we love about cars. But getting back to the king is dead, I agree. I mean, when you wrote it, I thought it was, it was very forward thinking. It was a little bit controversial, and now it's proven, right? That was prophetic. To say so. Thanks. Yeah, well, I'll call you out when it's wrong, but that was, but you deserve that, because I remember when you wrote it, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's taking a shot here, but you were 100% right. And I think it's going to be interesting to see if there's a little bit of air let out on the next big auctions, which would be in January.
Amelia.
At Amelia Island.
I'm sorry, January in Scottsdale.
Scottsdale, and then we'll have Amelia and Moda. But I don't think there's going to be that letdown. I think we're going to see people like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, we figured the tariff thing out, and
I agree.
Market's good, and I lost out on that car. I'm not losing out on the next one, and I believe there is some newer money coming in, and new enthusiasm, and getting away from auctions for a second. We come back, and I think hey, how is Pebble? And I think the one noticeable thing this year was how many more people were there. To the point where it became very difficult to move around, I think.
And that's a big, this is a market report, but that's a big topic that we should try to cover at some point, because, I'm a massive believer of the young generation and all the spotters and all these things, because I think it proves that collecting has a future of 40 years. If someone's 18 years old hanging out at Pebble talking about F40s and 288 GTOs, it means there's a long future ahead. But I heard a lot of complaints also from car owners, people that have been to Pebble forever, that it's just too busy. Traffic's too bad. It's a little chaotic.
I think, listen, they do a great job, obviously. They've been doing it so long. And you kind of go there and you feel like it's set up, right? Like, where you can and can't go. They know what they're doing. Things tend to be crowded, but they're always manageable.
Yes.
This year, I think you and I had an adventure, you had to run out of the lodge, jump into a car, had to take you somewhere else to get picked up. It was pretty crazy. I think they're going to have to make some adjustments, obviously, because the capacity and the sheer volume of people. And by the way, it wasn't like we weren't taken over by crazy young, guys and revving their engines. I mean, you saw a little bit of that. It was real enthusiast. And in fact, I
Yeah.
was walking through Sunday through the Concours. Tends to be a little bit on the older side. So pre-war, it's a great show, obviously. And there was a young guy that came up and I guess recognized me for the video. He's like, "Oh man, thanks for everything you do in the video." And that was great. But then I walked in, like, that guy was like 23 years old.
Yeah.
And he's on the lawn
Yes.
on Sunday. And so I don't think
Well,
it's a matter of like, we're not getting them wrong. I think it's just more people coming,
Yes.
which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
For everyone's complaints, if you love the industry and you love the hobby, you should be thankful that there is a younger generation that is
Yeah.
in love with these cars more so than ever. It's never been like this. When I was a kid, no one knew what a 959 was.
Yeah.
No one knew what an F40 was. No one knew what these cars were, especially not a Gullwing or a Miura. So I think it's very exciting to see where the future goes.
Yeah. And you know, the other thing to that point is, and I don't know if people know, there was a rally, an F50 rally.
Yeah.
That was put on by our good friends at DK Engineering. They did a great job. They ended up getting a lot of cars. And as we're going and we're driving up PCH towards Big Sur, the sheer amount of spotters, and it was insane. It was almost like if you run a marathon in New York City, man, you have all these people. That's where every corner would have like
Yes.
40 spotters, and
So cool.
they kind of knew the route we were going. And you know, a lot of guys, oh, it's annoying. It's not. It's great. Like,
Yeah.
this is why we do it, right?
Yes.
They enjoy it. People want to consume it. We're enthusiasts at the end of the day. And these young guys, you know, whatever their motivation is, if it's financial or if it's, but they're out there, you know,
Yeah.
and they know the cars and they know the routes. And you know, we're up at 5 in the morning, and I kind of have the thing on the map. I guess we're going here, but these spotters are already waiting there
Yes.
for us. So overall, I think market's great, attendance is great. They're going to have to do something, obviously, for capacity. But I just
and to sort of cap it off, what do you think? And there's 3 cars in my mind, or 4 cars in my mind. What do you think are the most undervalued cars today that, because of Monterey, you see a big future for? And it could be 3 or 4.
3 or 4. Man, I always do bad with these questions.
You want me to start?
You start. Yeah.
Okay. So I think there's no question if a Diablo GT can have that much excitement and bring that number, I think SC30 is next. There's zero question. I look at Diablo GT and SC30 as like F40 and F50. And when you look at the numbers, even compared to an F40 or a 50, you have 150 SC30s, 80 Diablo GTs. And that, I think, will trickle down into all the limited Diablos. You know, you see these supercars hit these massive numbers. It just makes sense. And I think when I look at also over the weekend and just in general with the prices of 16Ms going where they are, 599 GTO prices, things like that, I also, and you guys know I've never truly loved the car because it is E-Gear, but I think a Mercy SV, considering there's 45 for the US, there's not many cars for the world, you know, when you compare it to a Carrera GT and the other supercars and a 599 GTO, the number's so small, it's usable. You know, a new Revuelto with options is 800,000. How is, you know, they're going to make thousands. How is one of 45 cars, I think, for the U.S., you know, between $1 million and $1.5 million? And that seems like a lot of money, but when you think of the general context of cars and the number of those cars, it doesn't seem like a lot of money. So I'm very bullish on Lambo stuff. And also, again, and I've talked about this, but 550 Barchetta, as you see the prices of these other cars, I think 550 Barchetta, again, just resonates with me.
Okay, so I agreed with 2 of yours. Mercy SV, that was going to be one of my picks.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah.
I think early Bugatti Veyron. I think the importance of that car, it checks off every box.
Yeah, I agree.
We're starting to see it. I
Yep.
think, and then EB110. I think massively undervalued car.
Still, yes.
It's got this intrigue attached to it with the story, and we're doing some stuff
Yes.
media-wise that we're going to put out about that story and how important, as far as its involvement in resurrecting the brand and what it is today.
Yeah.
And we're seeing, because we love those cars, and we're kind of seeing more activity, and collectors talk about the car, and I just think they're massively undervalued.
Yeah, agreed.
I think the Super Sport that ran this weekend sold a little cheap. Someone got a great deal.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think there's going to be a very quick moment where those cars have their spotlight.
Well, I've noticed, it's funny, in the last 3 months, 3 Super Sports have sold, and I think 1 GT as well. So privately, I think Mechatronics just announced they sold a car.
Yeah.
There's a few other dealers that have announced. I think Broad Arrow sold another car. So cars are moving and selling. So I listen, I think when you think of Bugatti as a brand in general, the things they're doing with the new car, the fact that their used car, you know, a Chiron Pure Sport sells for $4 million, you know, and a Chiron sells for $3 million, it doesn't make sense that their historic cars are not trading at those levels.
Yeah,
makes zero sense.
I think there's going to be, what you're going to have is you starting to get enthusiasts that are building those into the collection.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys that are buying a lot of the new special Bugattis. And then I think you'll start to see a backfill of the EB110, the Veyron and the special Veyrons. I mean, we just transacted a special Veyron, and I think you're starting to see demand. Like, it didn't last very long.
Well, it's funny. We just transacted on a very special Veyron. Thank you. And somebody just offered me another Sangwar. We transacted on our car below $2 million. And somebody just offered me a Sangwar out of Europe at $3 million. And I was like, wow, like, okay, that's exciting. I mean, obviously, we weren't going to sell the car for $3 million in the US. It's not possible at the moment, but it's exciting to see people in Europe sort of start to ask those numbers, because that's really what that car should be worth. Yeah,
and I think, again, that you're going to see that move this year. And then I agree with you on the 550 Barquet. You know that you and I always agreed that car, again, massively undervalued.
Yeah.
We're probably one auction transaction away from those cars crossing $1 million.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think we're not going to ever see them come below that.
I agree.
So yeah, we agree on a lot, I think. And then the other one, even though it's an expensive car today, is the Miura SV. I think, again, for what that represents to the brand Lamborghini and how it sits in the slot of like the supercars and the earlier supercars, I believe that car has a long way to go. We're starting to see movement on that car, but I think $5 to $6 million should be commonplace, and I think we'll see that this year.
Last question, and I have 2 cars in mind. What were you think the coolest new cars that were released? I mean, that's the wild thing as well. The Quail has become like the new Geneva Motor Show.
Yeah.
What do you think are the 2 coolest new cars you got to see over the weekend, or cars that you saw?
Man, the new Gordon Murray car.
See, I disagree with that.
Listen, absent there being a lawsuit for copying the F1, I just, look, it's nostalgia. It's like, it's the ultimate of the resto mod, and he's not going to try to like get donor cars in, obviously, for $25 million and build them. So I just thought that the execution of the new Gordon Murray car was unbelievable. I thought when the cover came off, it invoked so much emotion out of me. And you looked at it, you're like, oh, okay, this is the reimagining. I think they're building 2 cars. So
they're building 5.
Oh, 5.
They were all sold to one person.
Yeah.
And that's my argument with the car. I think the car is sick. It's stunning. It's everything you would want. But I think as a brand, and I'm a massive fan of the Gordon Murray brand, it's almost like a snub to your clients. Because, to me, I look at it as like, I'm going to build the coolest thing ever and no one else can have it, right? And I think the T50 is absolutely incredible. But if I had ordered a T50, I would have wanted the opportunity to get one of those.
Yeah, well, again, I think, and I don't want to start any problems, but I wonder if they made 20 of them, how McLaren would react to that.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like a modern F1.
It's sick. It's sick.
Yeah.
I just was like,
right now it's a tip of the
you
cap.
can't not offer it to anyone else. I mean, it's like, come on.
But I think, it was, I thought, one of the coolest cars released. And then, look, you can't take away what Bugatti's doing with their special brands at the Belay and stuff. And I thought that they were beautiful and again, good execution. And I was kind of critical of Bugatti because I felt like they were overstretching the Chiron line and just adding special models. But I think the new model is something really different and really special.
Yeah.
So I thought those are, 2 cars that kind of stood out to me that weren't, that didn't fall into the Ferrari and Lamborghini and the common release stuff. I walked away remembering both of those cars.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I fell in love with the new Lamborghini. I think the lines are incredible. I don't love the spec, but I think the lines, I think it's super cool. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really loved, I would say, and I've been critical of Eccentrica because I'm obviously a purist.
Yeah.
I think the carbon Eccentrica was very cool, the bare carbon car. But I think to me, the ultimate, not even a resto mod because it's a new car now, but the roof tribute is top spec. The car was stunning.
Yeah.
Everything about it, the fact that it's a homologated air-cooled engine, I was just like, that's it. Take my money.
Yeah. And like you said, the Quail has kind of evolved, and it's kind of becoming the primary landing spot for releases, especially special releases.
The place.
Whereas as kids, I mean, I grew up in New York. I would always be at the Javits Center, and I would go there. And now it's, I mean, I'm sure there's still cool shows to go to, but Quail seems like primary landing spot for the really cool kind of out of the box thinkers and some of these special models. And why not? I mean, you're trapping the best enthusiasts in one place. So yeah, I thought it was a great show. I'm excited to see how this evolves into next year. We're going to get into show season soon, so I think Moda and Amelia Island and all those shows are going to probably show us even more.
Yeah.
I hope things keep going the way they're going, man.
Well, thank you guys for watching. Would love your comments. I know we're going to have some hate in here. We're going to have some love, some support. Would love your comments. Would love your input. Would love for you guys to let us know what you think are the most undervalued cars right now. What shocked you at Monterey? What surprised you? What you thought was just completely absurd? We have a ton more great content coming. And thank you guys again. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
See you guys.